Hello and welcome to Talk Me Healthy podcast with Sherry Keating from Diabetes Care Consulting. Today's topic is assisted living locators, and I have as my guest John Younger. John is a certified senior advisor, certified dementia practitioner, and owner of assisted living locators. So welcome, John.
Hey, Sherry, thanks for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you so much for being here today. So before we get into your company and all the good things that you're doing, I want to hear a little bit about you, your background, and kind of why you decided to start this company.
Oh, sure. Thanks for asking. I had some experience back with a family member, 7, 8, 9 years ago, where the family was trying to figure out what is the best and healthiest environment for their parents to go. It was an aunt and uncle. They were going through the whole process of going on the internet, looking at assisted livings online, stopping in to see places. And the results of it was my aunt ended up moving 3 times in 3 years. And it's just, you can't do that. It's just so stressful and emotional for the family and for my aunt. And as I dug into it a little bit, what I discovered was the reason for them continuing moving was there were questions that were never asked. There were expectations that were never met. So the family goes into these situations without asking the educational type questions of, is this the best place for my aunt to be? So the expectations weren't met because the questions were never asked. And that goes on both sides, both with the family and with the residential community. Is you want to make sure that your loved one's going into the proper place, and you need to understand what's going to happen inside the community, and the community needs to understand what my aunt was all about, but those questions were never asked because there wasn't someone there to kind of coach them along. So I kind of thought that, boy, this has got to be a way for me to stick myself in the middle of this, where I'm helping the families, I'm helping the residential communities to understand what it is that they're buying and moving into, and to help them make sure that they're getting into the great place and they're not going to move 3 times in 3 years. Hopefully they just move that one time and they're going to age in place and be happy and healthy for a very long time.
So I think that's awesome, because I know that we were blessed when my dad got to the point where he couldn't take care of himself. We were lucky that he was a veteran, and we got aid in attendance, and then my mom and family members were able to keep him at home. But that situation isn't right for everybody. So, you want your loved one to go into a place that gets them, and then they offer a home-like environment so that the person who's going there feels like, they're kind of have a new home for life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because that's what it is. It is your new home.
Absolutely. And it's hard enough to leave your home for a lot of these seniors who have been living there for years and years, and all of those memories and history, and for the family members to move their loved one into an assisted living or independent living or, long-term care, for them to have to move, and they want to make sure that, you're right, it's a one-time move.
Right.
So
right.
I think definitely you're providing an incredibly valuable service for so many. My question is, what did you do before you had this aha moment and started this company?
Well, I was in high-tech sales.
Okay.
Nothing to do with senior care.
Okay.
But as I was reinventing myself, and I kind of wanted to get back into a more human-oriented environment, because my background's in psychology and sociology from, college a very short time ago.
Ah, yes, of course.
and to be able to offer people education resources. It's kind of the way that when I was selling the little microprocessors and semiconductors to the high-tech world, it was really all about, here are the features and the benefits. This is what you can expect. What do you think? What questions do you have? And that's kind of how that skill set was easily transferable to what I'm doing now, because again, what are the features and benefits of the assisted living community? What do you like? What are you all about? What's going to work for you? What's not going to work for you? And so it was a really, really terrific transfer of a skill set. It really kind of just was, it doesn't sound like a smooth segue because high-tech sales to human service, senior care, but it's the methodology of it.
Right. No, it totally makes sense to me. Absolutely. When did you start your company? How long ago?
A little over 4 years ago, so it was June 2016.
So congratulations on your 4-year anniversary
Thank you.
recently.
Thank you.
So tell me about the process. So what happens, say I have a loved one and it's time to make that move. What do I do? How do you go about the process? Tell me about how that works.
So great question. What you would do is give me a call, send me an email, and we would get together, usually in person, to just talk about what's the situation, what are the medical issues going on, geographically, where do you want your loved one to live, and importantly, finances, and what's available as far as income goes. Bit about what did they do when in their previous job experience, any kind of interesting activities that they wanted to pursue when they move into an assisted living. So as we're going through this process, I'm then thinking of 2 or 3 places that seem like they're going to match and make a good fit. Because the important thing is to make sure that I understand my client, and I also understand the community, the residential community, so that I'm getting them an appropriate environment as well as an appropriate resident for the assisted living community.
Do you charge for that initial consult, so to speak?
I do not.
Okay, so it's a free consult.
Yes, my service is no charge to the clients all the way through the process.
Really? So
all the way through. So, after we've done that intake and we've talked about the parameters that they're looking for, we'll go and take a visit, like a real estate agent. Go and take a visit of the place. You want to tour the community. You want to get eyes on the rooms that might be available. You want to get eyes on the other residents who are there, because you want to have a good feeling about these are going to be your new friends and neighbors. So I walked through that whole process, and I helped them ask the questions that nobody really knows to ask. I mean, if you haven't done this, which most people haven't, and it gets thrust upon them, you don't know what to ask. So I help navigate that process in person, through the touring process, right through to signing of the agreements. And I like to follow up, 2-3 months later, just to check in and see how everybody's doing.
I can imagine it is so helpful to have somebody in your corner who knows and who's been there and who's really looking out for the best of the loved one that they're trying to place. So a couple of questions that came to mind as you were saying that. Do you help people find a place only in Massachusetts? And then is it only assisted livings, or are there other senior housing options or living options?
Great question. So I cover Worcester East in Massachusetts.
Okay.
But I have colleagues all over the country who do what I do, who I
Okay.
often recommend because somebody wants to go to Arizona, Florida, or California, because that's where their family is. And I can connect them with a resource like myself in that particular state. And the same thing the other way around. I just had a couple move up from Florida last week to New Hampshire. So I lost track.
So no, I was asking about the different out of state. So you answered that. And then
Right.
the other thing, do you only work with assisted livings, or what about independent livings and long-term care, those kind of other senior living options?
Right. So my focus and expertise is on assisted living, independent living, and memory care within assisted living. However, I've surrounded myself with really dynamic resource people that I can refer to if somebody wants to stay home. I can connect them with a couple of good home care companies, or somebody wants to get into a 55 plus community. I don't do that because that's more real estate. So I'll connect
Okay.
them with a real estate person. What I don't do, I've got the ability to bring the right people together. Elder law attorneys, financial advisors, those things I don't do. So as far as what I focus on is you need to have one thing that you do and do well.
Absolutely.
And this is what I spend my time doing is working with the assisted living buildings and people who want to go there.
So how is COVID? You said you see them in person and you bring them on a tour. So tell me how that's worked during COVID, because that I know a lot of these communities that you would take a tour
Right.
have been closed and have had problems with COVID. So how has that worked?
Well, that's more, that is definitely more of a challenge, Sherry, definitely more of a challenge. So they're starting to do more tours now, but in the times where there weren't any tours going on, everybody became experts at Zoom and FaceTime so that we could do virtual tours.
Okay.
So the sales director or the nursing director or whoever was doing a tour would walk around the building, with their cell phone or if it's a smaller iPad, and live either tape the community or have the client on the other end watching themselves as they walk through the building and show them this is example of what your room may look like. So it's been a very high-tech adjustment. And I think it doesn't 100% take the place of actually physically going to a place, but it's better than not going at all.
Absolutely. Did
Yeah.
you help people during that time? Did they actually have move-ins during that time?
Yes, absolutely.
They did.
Absolutely. And it was really the challenge, but you got over the challenges. There's also assessments get done. The nurses at the assisted livings need to do an assessment of the person to make sure that they are able to, they being the building, are able to take care of them safely and healthfully. And that was a challenge too, because that is usually done in person, but again, Zoom stepped up and they're actually able to do that. So many of my clients who moved in during this whole 3, 4, 5, 6 months, that's how it was. You'd see a picture of a room, you'd have a video conference with the nurse and move in, take it from there. There were restrictions on movers. So sometimes you would, you bring your own furniture because it's your home. So you
Right.
bring your favorite chair or in the television or whatnot. And sometimes they had to just leave it on the outside sidewalk while the maintenance director or crew from the assisted living would come out and bring it in, rather than having too many people coming in at one time. So that was been some good adjustments, been some very
I'm
good
sure.
positive adjustments.
Have you been Zooming with people, or have you been seeing them in person to do your initial consult?
I've been more phone work. Usually the first contact is by phone, and even though I like to be in person, then I might follow that up with with an in-person interview. Now you can just be outside, so we might meet at a coffee shop or something outside, and because that's the best thing to do is you get eyes on each other, you get to know each other much better, that kind of
Mhm.
thing.
And I'm curious because I own a business. So it's no cost for the
Yes,
whole process. So
yes.
how do you get paid? Like, is this something insurance covers, or how does this work?
No, that's a great question too, Sherry. I get a referral fee from whatever community that my clients move into. And this is an
Okay.
agreement that I have with pretty much there's 262 assisted livings in Worcester East, and I have agreements with pretty much all of them. So it's like a real estate broker. I get a referral fee from
Commissions.
them,
Okay.
commissions.
Yeah.
The key here, the caveat that I tell people is like a broker, like an insurance, great real estate broker. I need to be able to make the first contact and guide them through the whole, make that beginning contact in order for me to get compensated. Now, the follow-up question is, well, how do I know you're going to send me to a place that's going to pay you as opposed to someone who is not going to pay you? And that's a great question, very intelligent question to ask.
That was my next question, John.
Yeah, it's kind of a perfect segue, you know. And as I was saying, the reason why I started this business was to make sure people got into the right place. And I have done a tremendous amount of pro bono work because maybe there's a couple of places, lower income places, or places that just don't need my services because they don't need me as an extra marketeer, where I have moved people in and placed people at no, and I don't get reimbursed for that. But it's so important for me to know that a family is safe and healthy no matter where they go.
I love that.
Yeah, and you know, and everybody who calls me, we work together, low income, whatever. What I look at is I'm providing a really excellent service, and these people are going to tell other people about what I'm doing because this is a hard thing. Most people don't know about this type of service. So it's very important. It's very important for me to make sure my clients are safe and healthy.
So you're doing it out of your passion, and when you do something out of your passion and out of your heart, then it comes back to you like, multiply. So, when you have happy families and happy assisted livings that you've found the right fit, then that just speaks volumes of you. So,
Well,
yeah,
thanks,
I
Sarah.
love that. I love
Thank
it.
you, Sarah.
So my question is, if I had a loved one, what would I be looking for in assisted living? Like there's so many, like it seems like every time you drive down the road, on every corner, there's an assisted living. How am I going to choose? And how did you learn about all the assisted livings, all the things that they offer? Because you said there's like 250 something. And
Yeah.
how did you learn about all those? And how do you make the decision? And what should the family be looking for when they're picking the right assisted living?
Right. Yeah. Thank you for that question. I actually spent the first 9 months to a year in business going around and touring and meeting all the different assisted livings so that I would get a handle on their features and benefits, what makes a good resident, what makes not such a good resident. Fortunately, and as you said, there are many places to choose from. And fortunately, the majority of them are very good, but they might have a little differences. Some places just do assisted living, some places just do memory care. So having gone through the process of getting to know the different communities that are out there, I'm able to then, as I'm talking to a client, think of two or three, and only two or three, because there's a dozen in one area. In Woburn, Massachusetts, for instance, there's 20 within 5 miles of each other. So I'm not going to take people to all 20 of them. I'm going to pick out two or three. And the judgment of that is, what are their cost structures? The big question is, how long have the management been working there? How long has the staff been working there? Is there a big turnover or not? What are some of the amenities that come along with it? Are there 3 meals? Laundry, is it only linens, or can it be personal laundry? Transportation to doctor's appointments, is it provided by the community, or do you have to pay extra for it? What are the activities? Where do you go? How's the food? That's a very important question. Very big question, very important. I always recommend my clients have a lunch. Have a lunch and find out how the food is. Most places have great food, and most places have great service. So those are the important questions are about the care.
Right.
Because your first interaction is going to be with the salesperson, but they're the ones who are going to give you a great overview of what they offer and how to do, and the process of how to move in and what's going to happen as their loved one's being taken care of. But they're also not the person who's going to be taking care of their loved one. That's going to be the residential care director, nursing director, whomever. So it's very important to have a conversation with them and understand what's going to happen. If my mother falls in her room, what happens? Is she going to be there for a certain amount of time before someone discovers her? And then what happens? Do you, as the nurse, take care of, triage the situation and determine she can just pick her up and sit her in a chair and she's fine? Or do you make the determination that you have to call 911? So that what I love doing is, we go into these buildings. Yeah, they're gorgeous, beautiful rooms,
They are.
chandeliers and carpeting. Even a lot of the older buildings have renovated. So you're looking around and you're oohing and ahhing, and this is lovely, this is wonderful. And then my next comment after they've been looking around a bit, I'll just say, all right, that chandelier is not going to take care of your mother. And it brings it all down to the reality of, let's talk about the care and how that's done.
Yeah, so I see your point, because you can go in and they look like these high-end hotels. Like, they're absolutely gorgeous. And so you're right, it all comes down to, in the end of the day, is how well is my loved one going to be taken care of, and how well are their needs going to be met? How well is this person know me as the, person living here? And, because you want, number one, the safety and the care in a home-like environment for your loved one. So
Right.
That's a great thing that you do, is pointing out, yeah, this is great and it looks beautiful, but we got to get to that question. And
Right.
so I love you bringing that focus back. So can I afford to go into an assisted living? Like, what do I need to know now in my age? I'm almost 60. So did I need to start saving for assisted livings when I was 20? Or it's so expensive. I belong to the same senior provider groups that you do. And when you talk to people about the marketing directors about the cost of assisted livings, wow, it's an eye opener. So what do I need to do now? And what do people need to do now to think about when and if they have to go into an assisted living?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, there are some subsidy programs out there that can help pay for assisted living. Veterans Aid and Attendance, PACE program. Some of the newer buildings made arrangements with the towns to have, I don't know, I think it's Section 40B or something, where they have 10% of the apartments are lower cost. But my suggestion now is, if you plan ahead, is talk with your financial advisor and figure out where the money's going to be put, where is it going to come from. Most of my clients who are able to afford to go into assisted living, they might have a long-term care policy. So if you can afford a long-term care policy, go get one. Have a home to sell. Or if they want to keep the home in the family, perhaps they were one of the few fortunate folks who worked around the 128 technology belt and have a great pension. Teachers, GE, Raytheon. So how to afford it is I would absolutely engage with a financial planner elder law attorney, somebody who understands how to save for that future. Because
it's
my first phone calls with people are, again, setting expectations. Bless you. Setting expectations is, you need to understand that you got to put the number $6,000 a month in your head as a jumping off point, because you've got the apartment rate, and then some places actually give you 30 to 60 minutes of personal care a day with the cost of the apartment. Others, depending upon the care that's needed, add that on. So what might start at 6,000 or 5,000 can end up being 7,500, depending upon what kind of care is needed. And those are the things that I've discovered along the way. And if someone comes to me and says, hey, John, I've only got like $5,000, I'm not going to look at a place that's $9,000.
Right. So that's going to be a really big determinant of what 2 or 3 that you pick out is. Yes. What is available to spend on monthly on this assisted living community.
Right. Because none of the it's all out of pocket. It's no, Medicaid, Mass Health, Medicare does not take care of the room and board of these places. They will take care of it. For instance, if you were coming out of a rehab or you needed some kind of PT or OT, that part of your life follows you to wherever you go. and your current insurance, whatever insurances you have to cover that, still transfer. Because again, the key here is this is your home you're moving into. You know, it's an apartment. It's whatever you can have happen at your home can happen in your assisted living. You're free to come and go. I mean, not right now, but because of the COVID, but it's still a very independent option of living, even if you need some assistance with any of your daily living skills.
Well, you know what? This has been incredible information because, you know, I'm sure there's some viewers out there today that are listening saying, you know, maybe it's time I should think about it. And that brings me to my next question is, when is it time for you to think about putting, you know, moving your loved one into an assisted living?
Right, right. So the most important thing is, are they safe to stay at home? That would be the first question. Are they safe to stay there? Are they safe to return there? Too many stairs, doorways are too narrow, just dangerous situations in the home. So if they're no longer safe to stay at home, that's the time to think about assisted living. Or on the flip side, I don't want to shovel snow anymore. I don't want to. I'm tired of paying my city taxes. I don't want to. I want someone that I don't want to cook anymore. And that's another option. Assisted living is a great option for that as well. I have a variety of clients who are in emergency situations and have to go, or others who are like, you know, I'm done with this heavy lifting. I want a nice, long life, healthy life where I don't have to worry about anything except what's for dinner, you know. And even that's not a worry because you're getting cooked for anyway. So.
Boy, that sounds very inviting to me right now. I own a home, I got a pool, so I have lots of to-do lists. So, yeah. And I cook, and my husband's not a great cook, so I do the cooking. So luckily, he's a great cleaner, so he does the dishes and I do the cooking. But I can see how when people get up at that age, they're like, you know what? I've like had it with all of this. Yeah. I just want to have fun now. And I've deserved it. I've worked my whole life. And so let's have fun now. And so I can see that. I actually never thought of an assisted living as an option for that. I kind of thought of it as you couldn't take care of yourself anymore at home. You were unsafe and you needed to go into assisted living. So I never really thought about it as the way you're talking. Like if you're done with the whole homeowner thing, this is an option for you. So I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, you can move into an assisted living community as an independent person. You have your apartment, you have all the amenities, you just don't have to pay for the extra care. But the extra care is there for when you need it.
Yeah, so you can age in place
absolutely
through the end of your life at these assisted livings, correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. As long as it doesn't become to a medical issue, respirators, ventilators, medical stuff like that cannot happen at an assisted living. That's more for a skilled nursing. But a hospice can come in. If you move in and you come to a point where you're lacking mobility and you need some mechanical help getting up and getting out of bed or whatever, that can happen in assisted living as well. There's a lot of things that can happen in assisted living that people don't know about. And assisted living is not a nursing home.
Yeah, I think people need to understand that. So I'm so glad that we did this podcast because I really feel like I personally learned a lot, and I'm sure the viewers who will be listening will be learning a lot as well. So how can we contact you, and where are you located, and what's the best way to reach you? Do you have a website, all of that resources?
Sure. So I actually have a home office in Amesbury, Mass. My phone number, which is always the best way to get a hold of me, is 508-878-8878. My original cell phone number from a billion years ago. Never going to change it. Website, which is a good way to go to, is assistedlivinglocators.com, / or / whatever that is. Any Mass, as in Northeast Mass, any Mass.
Okay. All right, awesome. So I just want to thank you. Our time is gone already. These half hours go so fast, but I learned so much. And I love your passion, and I love all the things that you're doing. And, you know, you go above and beyond. You do these 5 minutes with John Younger, and, you know, you bring resources, information on resources out there in the community to others. So thank you for doing that as well.
My
And
pleasure.
you're just a nice guy. And
Oh, Sherry, thanks so much.
I really enjoy, you know, I've enjoyed spending this 30 minutes with you, and then I always enjoy seeing you at the senior provider group meetings that we used to have in person, and now we have on Zoom.
Right, right. Well, we'll get back to that soon.
Yes, I can't wait, because
yeah.
I'm a people person, as you know. So for me, this has been a little bit of a challenge, but hey, thank God for technology, right?
Right, right. We're all Zoom professionals now.
Oh, absolutely. Actually, I learned a couple of new things yesterday about Zoom, so I can teach you. So
Yeah, please.
yes.
Please.
So anyways, viewers, I want to thank you for tuning in to Talk Me Healthy podcast with Sherry Keating. And I want to thank my guest, John Younger from Assisted Living Locators. And John, keep up the good work. Your service is so valuable and so needed. And viewers, if you have a loved one that you're considering, or if you out there are tired of shoveling and cooking and yard work and you want to have a change, John is the person you want to call. So it's John Younger, Assisted Living Locators. And I will have his number again and his website on this podcast and show so that you can access it. And so thank you again, John. Thank you, viewers.
Thank you, Sherry. Appreciate the time.
You're welcome. And viewers, remember, until next time, live your best life every day starting today. This is Sherry Keating. Stay well.